Great.
Yeah, way better.
Finally.
I mean, finally. Guys, seriously, I swear to God that in 2021, I'm gonna hire someone to
We need an IT guy here.
yes, it's gonna be, I don't know, seriously, but we always follow the same protocol. I don't know exactly what happens. It's technology, whatever. We're architects, right? We are not IT people, so it should be fine. Laura is confirming that we are now, yeah, good. So great. So yeah, going back to the beginning, I was just introducing Alberto as an architect who graduated from the Madrid Polytechnic School I think it was back in 2009, 2010. Is that correct,
I would
Albert?
say 2007. 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
think.
I
Same year as
well,
you, I believe.
no. I actually graduated later that year because I moved to London before.
Okay.
I started, yeah, a little bit earlier, but then anyway. So 2007. So you now have over 15 years of experience, right?
Yeah,
Like,
some 14 years of experience, different
so
fields.
yeah, that's really interesting because we haven't got anyone so far interview at that range of experience. So guys, please, as you know, we are very casual here. So if you have any questions for Albert at any time, just raise your hand and at the IG TV menu, or just launch your question, and we'll include it in the conversation. So I want you to, because otherwise I talk too much. I want you to just go quickly over your experience, mainly international experience, right? I mean, since you graduated, you more or less move abroad.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I graduated in 2007, and then I moved to London. I
Uh-huh.
stayed a couple of years there, working for an engineering firm, architect and design firm. Then I came back in 2009. And then I moved to the Middle East in 2010, 2011 for 4 years. I stayed there, and well, that was a great experience. Different learning from different people,
Yeah,
different
I
cultures.
wanna deep down in every place you've been working. But so London first, then you moved back to Madrid, then started your professional career. Well, continue the career in Middle East for 4 years,
That's it.
and
That's
then you
correct.
moved back to Spain, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's correct.
But I mean, even the time that you have been working in Spain, it's just so the people understand like the whole the big picture. You have been working for international projects, right?
Yeah, I mean, I started, as I said, in London, working for an architectural firm. It's mainly
What was
focused
the name?
Brighton Wood
By the
Associates.
way.
Yeah, so I started working as an architect, purely design. Then when I moved to Saudi Arabia, Middle East, I moved to an engineering firm. It has to do more, it's not just design, purely design, but it has to do with, well, calculations and other support to the construction activities, not purely design. And then when I moved to Madrid, it's a
But
totally
hold on,
different,
hold on, hold on,
okay.
hold on. I want to ask you because that shift in the in your career may have, I don't know if it was an important decision or if it came naturally. How did you actually jump from design? Because I know that your background is into design like mine. And how did you actually shift into the construction or more engineering world?
Well, I believe that when I came back to Spain in 2009, I started a master's degree in project management, and I
Oh,
realized that I would like to dedicate myself more to the management aspects of the construction field rather than the purely design. So I believe that
okay.
when I studied this master's degree, I realized that well, that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
an
that you're,
opportunity.
yeah, and that might be something interesting for our audience because we're all architects. We know how versatile our career can be, but at some point, sometimes you just start in one track and you get nervous about, moving in horizontal or in a different vertical. And it's interesting to see how did you actually process, it was subconsciously that the shift, or did you actually realize thanks to the masters in project management that you had other skills that you could actually explore in your benefit?
Well, I believe that when I decided to study a master's degree in project management, it's because I had this idea of shifting from.
You already had it, okay.
Yeah, so it's great. I mean, I love the design section of the whole industry, but I would prefer to work in a different field, a bit different. I mean, even if you are managing or coordinating a design project, you need to focus on some design aspects. But I was more into coordinating teams or, coordinating design rather than producing design, if you like.
Well, you're right. I mean, an execution plan, it also has design behind it. And well, I don't know if you agree, but now if I'm just trying to think out loud, but now I'm far from the design, even though I was really, really into design. And one of the things that interests me the most on my daily basis is the design behind every strategy that I design. For developing a process or to optimize, a process and the strategy, like all that has design as well. So do you feel like that?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, even though you are developing a different product, that it's not a proper drawing or a proper design product, but in every bit or in every aspect of the production of anything, if you are design to whatever piece of product you are producing, it's going to improve the result for sure. I mean, and that was very useful now that you're mentioning that. In these 2 years in London, I believe that I developed a lot my capacities in the design field. So I was stronger when I finished my 2-year period in London. I was stronger. My design was stronger than when I moved to London in 2007. So I was able to develop a bit my designing capacities, and they've been very useful through my career. I mean, nowadays that I'm not doing, if you like, proper design, I'm just doing something else. My design capabilities are very useful for my daily work.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I really like that that ability that we all have in our genes as architects, I think, to actually accommodate to the different scenarios and not putting back what you have been doing before. I mean, everything is an addition, right? And so that is something that you guys have to take in mind, that you might choose a specific path at the beginning of your career, but that doesn't mean that you have to, continue in that track forever. It's actually interesting and very nurturing that you try, if you have the opportunity, if that opportunity is given or you chase it. I would say that if you chase it, you will get the opportunity for sure. That you explore different aspects of this amazing industry we belong to. So, okay, so then you finish your master's degree in project management, and that opens you the door to this big, just so people know, he worked at Middle East for TYPSA. It's one of the biggest engineering companies here in Spain, right?
Yeah, definitely. When I finished the master's degree, it was a very tough time regarding like access to job opportunities. It was very difficult. There was because of the recession period.
We're talking about 2010?
2010, yeah. That's when I was searching. That's when I finished my master's degree and I was looking for a job. And it was really difficult. It took me some months to find a job. And when I found it, I was like going to every single architectural firm, engineering firm, like knocking doors and just asking for a job to whoever wanted to hire me. And finally, I ended up in TYPSA, and they offered me an opportunity. They told me, okay, we have like two news. One is good and one is not as good. The good one is that we can offer you an opportunity to work with us. And I thought, okay, that's great. And what's the bad point? And they told me, well, it's going to be in Saudi Arabia. And at that moment, and that point in time, I didn't know where exactly it was.
You couldn't really see what was going
so
to come.
maybe because I didn't know what Arabia or Saudi Arabia was, I just accepted immediately without like having a look where is Saudi Arabia or how life is in Saudi Arabia, but I definitely accepted, and it was a great decision, I believe.
But before you tell us how was the life, as professional and personal life in Riyadh, do you think that you would have said no if you would have known how tough it could get, at some point?
Well, it's been one of my greatest period of my life. So definitely now, I see I have like really good memories. I believe that Carlos is joining us, and I've worked with him as well there, and we had a great time. We spent 4 years there, and it was.
So tell us a little bit about the context. I mean, how is landing in a restricted country as Saudi Arabia, and how was the exercise of the practice of an architect comparing it to London? And at that point, you haven't worked in Madrid, right? In Spain, you only had experience in London.
Yeah, just a very quick 9-month part-time job in Madrid.
Okay, so you can only compare remarkable. So actually, I don't know if there was a British system in Riyadh when you at the company there, and it helped your family in London.
So finally I accepted, mainly because I had no other choice. That was the only offer or job opportunity that I received. So I said yes, and I moved to Riyadh. And well, when I first landed there, it was very weird from the very beginning. I mean, I was not used to see women all covered in black. You were not allowed to go to the cinema because mainly there were no cinemas. You could not go to a bar mainly because there were no bars. You could not have a beer. I love beer and wine, and you had to produce it yourself because there was not opportunity to
I remember elsewhere. That you actually learned to produce wine, right?
Yeah, I became a quite remarkable winemaker over there.
I can only imagine. I mean, how was that? I mean, I don't know if this is out of the topic, but how was that? You made it, I mean, in the kitchen, in the bathroom? I mean, I heard so many stories about that. I don't know.
There were different techniques to produce different type of alcohols. I was very into the wine. There were other people like more experienced that were able to produce different alcohols, but
oh wow!
My specialty was purely wine.
Purely wine. Yeah, going back to architecture. So that was, I guess, the scenery that you had to, live with on a daily basis. But how was your first day at work?
Well, it was like I began in my 4-year period in the Middle East. I began as an architect, pretty similar to what I had done in London. I mean, in terms of I was part of a design department, producing design for our client. That was Riyadh University, and pretty much the 3 years that I spent in Riyadh, job was like, it didn't change a lot from what I experienced in London. What it really changed is that I started to realize that there was quite a good potential in BIM methodologies. So I started to learn or to study about different BIM tools that could help to improve my background, my
Of
knowledge,
course.
and my capacities.
That's the core actually topic that I want to focus on. But so before going into the BIM, what was actually the software that you were using there? It was
mainly AutoCAD.
It was AutoCAD. Okay.
It was AutoCAD, and at the beginning, BIM was only understood as a way of represent a design that you were producing. It was mainly a 3D image, if you like.
Oh, so you were doing 3D.
Yeah.
So how was the structure of the work? I mean, when you landed there, the project was already at what level? It was schematic design, construction documents. Or...
Well, yeah, at that point, the way we structured, or the way TYPSA structured, TYPSA is the engineering firm I was working for. The way TYPSA structured the work is they produced the concept design, or we produced the concept design in a very close connection with the client there in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And then afterwards, once we have agreed the main lines, the concepts of that design, we would send the concept design to Madrid, and they would develop a detailed design.
Okay, so you work all the time back and forth with the
yeah,
central
definitely.
office.
Yeah, we were like the connection point between our production team in Madrid and the client. So we would go to the meetings with the client, we would discuss the different aspects of the design with the client, then we would get their feedback, and we would send to Spain, to Madrid, where we had 50-ish people working for that project in the different specialities, structures, M&E, architecture, and they would produce the detailed design.
So the larger team was back in Madrid?
Yeah.
It was only, okay. And you were, did TYPSA give you, because you were quite young at that age, or at least you were starting your professional career, did they give you the opportunity to actually meet with clients, to attend, meetings and
yes, well,
like
I was not the head of the department.
Of course.
But it was a very tiny department. It was just the architectural, the design department. It was just my boss and 3 of us. So
wow.
we had a lot of opportunities to go to see the client, to talk to them, to discuss with them, and it gave me, I believe, like a very good understanding of client demands, of trying to put in the client's shoes, to try to. I learned a lot from that stage, actually.
Let's try to provide some key takeaways to the audience here, because most of them are, a younger age than us. What would you recommend if someone see themselves at similar situation, meaning that even though you are part of a larger structure, you are not head of the team or anything like that? Is there any recommendation that you would give them in order to assess, in order to make the most out of that opportunity, that scenario?
Yeah, well, I believe it's important to realize anytime that you go to work to a different country, when you go to work abroad, when you go to work abroad, that I strongly recommend. It's key to realize what are the good points you can take from that culture, or from that team, or from that company, or from. There are always a lot of opportunities to improve your expertise, or to improve your capacities by just watching, or by talking to other people, or by talking to other teams.
Oh, I lost you. Okay, now. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, or by sharing some of your knowledge with them, and get some feedback from them. You can learn a lot. And if you don't work abroad, if you don't try that experience, it's going to be more difficult to get. That's why it's so important what you do, and I would strongly recommend to everyone to join your program.
Thank you.
To try or well, to experience a job opportunity abroad?
I mean, for sure, I agree completely with you because I follow the same path, yeah, in different countries. But my pretty much all my experience has been abroad as well. I think that it always adds. We always say the same in every interview, but it's the same. And it's not only the addition that you're gonna get, it's the speed. I mean, 1 year abroad is like 2 or 3 years in your, in a regular office in your home country, just because, your managers are gonna invest a lot on you to make sure that you get up to speed fast. And at the same time, if they see that you respond and that you are proactive, and as Alberto was saying, guessing any of the chances that come your way, they're gonna give you more. So definitely is, highly recommended anywhere in the world, the US, the Middle East, Asia, Europe, anywhere. And so let's go to the BIM. So you were saying that at that time is when you started, I guess, BIM had been running already for a few years, even back in 2010. But you realized all the opportunities that kind of a specialty could bring to your career. And so how did you actually got to the point where you are now, a BIM manager? How did you train yourself? It was self-education?
Well, it's been a long
It's been a while.
way. Yeah, it's been a while since I told you about like my first contact with kind of BIM. We can call it proto BIM if you like, because it was just a 3D representation. But at that time, I think I was lucky enough that I was in Middle East by that time, because Middle East was far more evolved in terms of BIM mentality, BIM like understanding of what potential benefits could bring to the project thanks to different BIM methodologies. So I started there, and then mainly it was not really my decision. It was because of some clients' needs that they were requiring to develop the project using BIM technologies, that I started to understand and to learn different BIM processes and procedures. And as you're saying, it's been a while.
Yeah, but I mean, the path was like, at some point they give you the opportunity to, as you said, to do a prototype in 3D, even though it was CAD, and CAD is not really considered part of the BIM methodology. But how did you actually ended up doing? What's the specific term? Is BIM execution plan, right? That's, if you can explain a little bit, introduce briefly BIM so then everyone knows. And
yes, well, broadly speaking, we could say that BIM is a set, or is a number of procedures that help different construction-related activities. So
methodology, right? Collaboratively.
It's a group. It's a set of procedures that will help or will facilitate different construction-related activities. But if you ask what is BIM to the different project stakeholders, they will answer in a different way. If you ask what is BIM to an architect or to a designer, they will tell you that BIM is a set of tools that they use to minimize the risk of design coordination
in the construction field, right? To avoid all the
design, to detect and to
conflicts
and clashes and everything. And as well, BIM will help them to produce their design. It's going to be quicker to produce the design because there are a lot of routines that are already set in their Revit software or in their BIM software, like Revit.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, it's a way to represent what they are doing, to represent the design. So that's BIM for designers and for architects. It's a set of tools that help producing the design. At the beginning, they were drawing, then they were using CAD, and now they are using BIM tools because it's quicker, it's more
And you can
efficient,
see
it
the
saves
real.
time. Yeah, you can speed up the process. And then as well, you can improve the coordination, the design coordination. And as well, you can represent your design in a more fashion way using 3D images and everything. That was that that's what an architect or a designer would reply to what's been for you. Then, if you go to a builder, a contractor, what they will tell you is, of course, it's something that will help us minimize the risk of coordination issues in construction. Because a builder or a contractor, they receive one of the biggest activities that builders do is receive a design and they will build the design that they receive from the client.
Correct.
So they need to check that the coordination of the design is correct because they don't want to find out on site while they are building that there is a conflict with M&E, with an M&E
MEP
duct and a column, for example, or a beam or whatever. So it's very important for them when they receive the design, when they produce the design, because nowadays, we are realizing that most of the projects nowadays, we are responsible, contractor, builders, we are responsible of producing the design as well. It's a way to check that the coordination is okay. So this is similar to the design and architects field. But on the top of that, we have, or builders, they have a requirement from the client to include all the project information in one model.
Got it.
So on one hand, it helps builders to reduce conflicts. And on the other hand, it's not that we benefit or that builders benefit from BIM to produce something else, but it's required from the client that builders include all the information within the model. So, for example, if you put a window in the model, you need to include like who has produced or who has supplied this window, who has the warranty time, all the information, maybe 10 parameters or 15 parameters in the model.
And that is because you're responsible if there's a clash, as you said, in the construction, you will be responsible budget-wise?
Well, no, this is because the other stakeholder, the other project participant, who is, okay, we've talked about designers and architects, we've talked about builders, contractors, and we have to talk about operators, facility managers. If you ask what BIM is to you, to a facility manager, who are the teams who operate the building, once it's built and once it's running the building, there is a team that operates the building, that changes the lights, that, well, all the activities a facility manager to like check that all the revisions are in place, that everything works smoothly in larger buildings, not, of course, not in a residential building, but when we talk about large buildings, there is usually a facility management team that is responsible to of the functioning of this building. And BIM for them is very useful because they receive the model from the builder, from the contractor, and they import in their platforms, in their facility management platforms, they import that model. So they have all the information of the building in one element. And it's very useful for them because then they can check, okay, so this, how many spaces, the areas of the spaces, check in everything that they need
but
in
what
their software.
What do you think is the extra information they get? Because all that, with the parameters that you just mentioned, area and the program and things like that, they already get it from a regular 2D drawing, right? But
yeah, but they get everything at once. They get not only the area, not only the information about the windows, not only because traditionally what a facility manager did was to gather information from different sources.
yeah,
Okay, they got the 2D drawing so they can measure the areas. They got the warranty manuals of the windows, and they had another folder with a lot of warranties or whatever. They had another folder including information regarding manuals of maintenance of the buildings, and everything was in different packages. Now, what the builder provides the facility manager with is a model that includes all the information they require for their normal activities.
and when you say model, is the actual, for instance, Revit model, or what type of file they get?
Well, depending on what platform the facility manager use, but what is traditional or usually what they do, what we are asked to do, what the builder is asked to do, is to provide an IFC model. It means an IFC file. This is an open BIM file that you can export from a Revit file. You can export into IFC. And so with their software, they import the IFC file into their system. So
The
they
platform.
can use
Okay.
all the information that is within the IFC file.
So we could say that the BIM execution plan is some sort of optimizing execution plan. Like it helps all the stakeholders, as you were saying, to optimize their protocols and to avoid, well, not to avoid, to minimize the risk of, issues in the construction field, or even once it has been built, right? It helps that the coordination of all the pieces comes easily to their place.
Yes, well, if we understand that the ultimate, if you like, a goal of BIM is to be able to produce an asset
One single
model, one single file, including all the information that will be used in the future. The BIM execution plan is like a common language for all project stakeholders,
I
for
like
all
that.
project participants.
I like that definition.
Because if you don't have like a common language, maybe the architects will speak one language, and inside the design team, they will speak different languages depending on what architect you ask, or an structural engineer or an MEP engineer. They speak different languages. So if there is not a common and agreed language, for sure you will find like things that will not work smoothly, because one probably will produce one model. The architects may produce one model in Revit 2020. Another group of architects will produce their model using Bentley or a different software. So you need to set the rules so all teams produce in the same way.
And is that your main responsibility as a BIM manager, coordinating the language, the common language, and make sure that the file is properly shared by all the stakeholders? I mean, what is the main
what is the main duty of a BIM manager? Well, it's difficult to highlight one among all, but definitely the definition of the BIM execution plan, which happens at the very beginning. Even nowadays, even before you get awarded with a contract, before we get awarded with a contract, we are already producing the BIM execution plan in case we are awarded with a contract.
I get it.
So we are able to distribute it among the different participants, and all participants understand what we understand BIM in this project is. So it's definitely the definition of a efficient BIM execution plan is key for the success of the BIM project. And
That's
it's
interesting.
the very first task that a BIM manager has to deal with. For example, some years ago, it was quite useful that the builder, the contractor company, asked the designers to do the BIM execution plan. which was, to me, a big mistake, because it's the builder who needs to set the rules. Because if you, and it was because really builders and contractors were not very aware of what BIM was. They just thought of it like, okay, it's something we have to spend money with, and it will not give us anything but just headaches and problems. Nowadays, the industry is reverting that position, and builders understand that there are some positive things that BIM can bring to the project. And now it's getting this a bit different, and for sure now in OHL, for example, all BIM execution plans are produced and developed internally. We would never ask a designer or an engineering firm or another party to produce a BIM execution plan.
Well, that's interesting, because now you are actually in that side, right? I mean, you're no longer acting as a designer, but you are in the builder or contractor part of the
the industry.
Of the industry. And so that could be also a learning for you guys. You know, if you're interested in learning or expanding your horizons through BIM, you can actually get access to a broader set of opportunities. I mean, you not only have to work for an architecture firm, you can work for a construction firm, for a contractor, for engineering firm. If you actually have that technical knowledge, it will multiply your options. And speaking about the future, what do you think BIM? What is the role that you think BIM is going to play in the forthcoming future? I mean, if you can predict a little bit, and what softwares, because there are a few. I mean, the most well-known now is Revit, but you have in Autodesk other softwares like ArchiCAD, or there are many, right? For even detecting the classes, plugins, and things like that. What do you think that is going to be the future for BIM managers?
Well, okay, yeah. Firstly, we need to understand that BIM is not a set of software. It's not very relevant what software you use. I mean, we need to understand.
It's not okay.
We need to understand that BIM is about managing the project information. It's how we manage the information that we receive from different parties, and we collect it and we gather it and we put it in in something. Yeah, how we manage this information.
Sure, understood. No, I was just saying Revit just because in many cases we get asked by our community, what software do we recommend for them to getting more specialized, and so far what it has been highly demanded by ranging from small boutique studios to mainly large corporate companies is Revit. But that's also why I'm asking. I mean, is there any other software that you can see is actually picking up, or it could be the future somehow?
Yeah, if we talk about software, definitely Revit. It doesn't seem that this is going to change in the coming years. Revit is going to be, unless you go maybe to a very specific countries, that maybe some other softwares can be as well quite relevant. But to my knowledge, Revit is going to be exercising like the top one software in the coming years for design producing. But then there are other very interesting software, like for example Dynamo, that you maybe, and the people who is watching this interview are very aware of. Dynamo is going to be very useful to optimize and to gain efficiency in the projects, especially from the architect designer point of view. Then Navisworks, for sure, is very useful for us builders to check the coordination and clashes as well. Navisworks is very useful to make what we call 4D BIM, which has to do with programming, to see how the works program evolves from the works commencement till the completion of the works. That's going to be very used as well, for sure. So I would highlight these three. And then if you go to more specific, if someone of you is thinking about, is very into IT, into very like specialist software, there are other software similar to Dynamo, and there is a company who is the top in Spain at the top position of this, which is Modelical. I don't know if you've heard of it, but in case that you are thinking of becoming a very specialist BIM, very BIM specialist, I would recommend you to check out Modelical website and to talk to them because, well, they are wonderful guys and they have a lot of experience, and they're experts in programming different tasks to improve the efficiency of the processes.
Awesome. I mean, I could stay here forever talking with you. I don't know if you gotta go. I just wanted to ask you maybe the last two questions briefly, so then we don't go into too much technical.
Yeah, I have a meeting at 7, so if we could just
start wrapping up. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that you know, from your experience starting in Madrid, I know that you also experienced Paris, then London, Riyadh, and then even though you're working again back in Madrid, you're working for mainly, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, Iris projects now, so all international. What will be the plus and minuses of this life, you know, of practicing architecture in such a diverse scenario?
Well, definitely the pluses to me, it's the experience you gain working with different people and learning. What I think the biggest takeout that I possibly have taken from this experience is to try to improve every little thing that you're doing, because we all do repetitive tasks in our daily jobs. So by trying to improve like minor aspects of these tasks, you will be able to increase your motivation, which is the key for our career, I believe, to keep highly motivated at all times, at all costs. And that's probably something that you learn as well while working with different people, different cultures, different terms.
I like that. I like that as a final statement to finish.
Yeah, keep highly motivated at all times, at all costs.
That's a good one. Well, guys, I don't know. I haven't been checking the messenger a lot because I was really concentrated and focused on Alberto's, you know, great experience and, you know, all about his specialty. I really hope that you got inspired by his story. I mean, that was the main target here, to see all the opportunities that you can get access to just by jumping, right? To anything that comes your way. You have to have a plan, obviously, in mind, but you know, you can just go with the flow somehow and learn from every single opportunity that, as you said, comes your way. Always highly motivated. So, Alberto, thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely. I'm sorry for the
my pleasure.
Technical difficulties at the beginning.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank
Cheers.
you. See you soon in the next one. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.